Okay, in the previous lecture, we have discussed various hazard technique. Okay, now in this lecture, we will discuss about the hazard control. Okay, how we control the hazard. So here for that, the various methods is given. The first is elimination, then substitution, engineering control, administration control, and the personal protective equipment. Okay, so first of all, we discuss with the elimination. Okay, so this is a basic method of dealing with the hazard is to eliminate it. Once the hazard has been eliminated, the potential for harm has gone. Okay, here you can see that the cylinders are stored in a unsafe condition, so it is not secured properly, and the pallet damage and the burn. Right now, the substitution, it means that this involves substituting a dangerous process or substance with one that is not as dangerous, right? So this may not be as satisfactory as elimination, since they may still be a risk, okay, even if it is a reduced, right? Now the third method, which is engineering control. So it is include the guarding and enclosure, substitution, process modification, equipment modification, ventilation, lighting. So the engineering control eliminate the human factor in preventing the injuries, right? The administrative control, it include it is a solution usually involve the modification, right? This can be done by the reducing the number of people which exposed to the danger, and the reducing the amount of time exposed, and the producing a training to those people who are exposed to the hazard, which is a administrative control. Then PPE, it means a personal protective equipment. It should only be considered when all other control methods are impractical, right? So the protective equipment for the eye, which is safety glasses; for face, it is a safe face shield; for head, it is a hard hat; then for ear, it is ear plug; for hand, rubber gloves; for foot, which is a safety shoes; for body, rubber apron; then respiratory, it is a respirator, right? Now we will discuss this equipment in detail. Okay, here you can see that the various example or various pictures for the personal protective equipment are given. Now, okay, the first one, which is here you can see that the equipment and the function is given, right? So the protective clothing, so it is a cover all which protect and body of the crew members from the hazardous substance like hot oil, water, welding spark, and etc. It is popularly known as a dungaree or a boiler suit, right? The second instrument, which is a helmet. It is the most important part of the human body in the head. Okay, it need utmost protection, which is provided by the hard plastic helmet on the ship. A chain strap is also provided with the helmet, which keep the helmet on place where there is a trip or the fall, right? Then safety shows the maximum of the internal space of the ship is utilized by the cargo and machinery, which is made of the hard metal, which make a clumsy or for a crew to walk around, right? So the safety shoes ensure that nothing happen to the crew members' feet while working on board, right? Then safety hand gloves. So the different types of the hand gloves are provided on board ship, right? All these are used in the operation wherein it becomes imperative to protect one's hand. Some of the gloves provided are the heat resistant gloves to work on a hot surface, then cotton gloves for a normal operation, welding gloves, and the chemical gloves, and etc. Right? The next one, which is the goggles. So the eyes are the most sensitive part of the human body, and in the daily operation on the ship, chances were very high for having in a eye injury, right? So the protective glass or goggles are used to the eye protection, whereas the welding goggles are used for the welding operation, which protect the eye from the high intensity spark. Right. Then 6 number, which is earmuff or the earplug, which is engine room to the ship produce which is 110 to 120 decibel of sound, which is very high for the human ear, right? So even a few minutes of exposure can lead to the headache, then irritation and some partial or full hearing loss, right? So an earplug is used on board which dampness of the noise to variable decibel value. Okay. Then next one, which is the safety harnesses. It means that it is a operation include the maintenance and painting of the high and elevated surface, which require a crew member to reach area that are not easily accessible, right? So to avoid the fall from such heightened area, safety harness is used. It is done by the operator at one end and tied at the strong point on the other, right? Actually, next one, which is a face mask, which is working on an insulation surface, painting or a carbon cleaning involve minor hazardous practices which are harmful for human body if inhaled directly. So to avoid this, the face masks are provided which act as a shield from hazardous particles, right? Then 9, which is a chemical suit. This is the use of the chemical on board ship is a very frequent, and some chemicals are very dangerous when they come in contact with the human skin, right? So a chemical suit is worn to avoid such a situation, right? Then a welding shield, it is a very common operation for the structural repair. A welder is provided with a welding shield or fans which protect the eye from the coming in direct contact with the ultraviolet rays and the rays of the spark of the weld, right? So this is the all type of the personal protective equipment, right? Now the next one, which is the on-site emergency planning. Okay, so it is an integral part of the overall loss control program and it is essential for our organization, right? The same is important for effective management of an accident to minimize the losses to the people and property both in around the facility. So the important aspect in the emergency management is to prevent by the technical and organization measure the unit tensional escape of hazardous material out of the facility and minimize the accident and the losses, right? So the emergency planning demonstrate the organizational commitment then for the safety of the employees and increase our organization safety awareness, right? Objective of the on-site emergency planning, which is what are the hazard and risk in the plan, right? Then what and how to do in the event of the emergency, then preparation for potential and unexpected accident at the workplace, right? Then the type of the emergency to plan for the include fire, explosion, toxic releases, right? Then injuries and rescue in the hazardous event. Then plan, improve local and district, state and national capacity to respond to disaster and a public health. Then emergency scaling of the action with venture communities in health, promotion, disease prevention and the disaster risk production. Plan is in form of all its relevant provisions, right? So the occupier will prepare the emergency plan required in the case of new industrial activity before that activity is commenced, right? Then in the case of the existing industry activity within a 90 days of commencing into the operation of these rules, right? Okay, the next one, which is off-site emergency. So the off-site emergency plan should be responsibility of the local authority and work management depending on the local arrangements, right? So the plan should be based on this accident identified by the work management which could affect the people and the environmental outside the installation. The plan should therefore follow logically from the assessment used as a basis of the on-site emergency plan. It is important that the plan should have a sufficient flexibility to deal with the emergency other than those specifically included in the plan, right? So the aspect to be included in the offsite emergency plan, which is organization. So the detail of the command structure, warning system, implementation procedures, then emergency control center, name of the emergency coordinating officer, the site main controller, their deputies and other key workers. Okay. The second, which is the communication. So the identification of the personnel involved, communication center, call signs, network, and the list of telephones number. Right. The third aspect, which is specialized emergency equipment. So the details of the availability and the location of the heavy lifting gear, bulldozer, then specified firefighting equipment, fire boat and etc. Okay. The next one, which is the specialized knowledge, it means that detail of the specialist bodies, firm with specialized chemical expertise and the laboratories. Right. Okay, the next, which is voluntary ad organization. It is a detail of the organization, telephone number, size of the resources. Okay. Chemical information, it is a detail of the hazardous substance stored at the processing, each major hazard installation and a summary of the risk associated with them. Right. Then meteorological information, it is include the arrangement of the obtaining detail of the weather condition prevailing at the time of an accident and the weather forecast. Right. Then next is humanitarian arrangement. It includes transport, evacuation center, emergency feeding, treatment of the injured, first aid, ambulance, temporary mortuaries. Okay. The next aspect, which is a public information. It includes the arrangement of the dealing with the media and informing relative of the causalities, right? And the last one, which is the assessment. It includes the arrangement for the collecting information on the cause of the emergency and for reviewing the effectiveness of all the aspects of the emergency plan, right? So this is the offsite emergency plan. Now, the last topic, which is the door fire and the explosion index. Okay, so what do you mean by the door fire and explosion index? It is a leading hazard index methodology recognized by the chemical industry. Okay, so the door index is a ranking system that gives a relative index to the risk of individual process unit due to potential fire and explosion. It serves as a guide for the selection of fire and explosion protection method. Okay. It assists in determining the spacing between the adjacent unit processes. Then it is a guide for insurance agency to set the insurance rate. Then it is a rank individual process unit where the specific safety attention can be focused. Right. Now, okay, the next is the different types of the chemical hazard. Okay, the first one, which is the inhalation. So the most common exposure to the chemical in the work environment through the inhalation, right? Then gas, vapor, means dust, fume, all chemicals that can be inhaled. The chemicals are inhaled when a worker breathes in a contaminant air through the mouth and nose and then subsequently into their lungs. Then ingestion, which is it is a chemical occur when the chemical enter into the worker's mouth and has swallowed. Okay, so ingesting chemicals commonly occur when the food or drink is contaminated by the unwashed hand, then personal protective equipment and the clothing. Right. The next is contact with the skin and the eyes. The chemical exposure to the skin is a commonly workplace injury. The exposure of the chemical is to the skin most often result in a local irritation to the exposed area, and the eye have a strong sensitivity to the chemicals and are consequently an area of a high concern for the chemical exposure. So the chemical exposure to the eye, which result in the irritation and the many instances then burns and visual loss, right? And the last one, which is the injection. Injection, it means it is the most uncommon method of chemical exposure in the workplace. Chemical can be injected into the skin when a worker is punctured by a sharp object, such as a needle, right? So the chemical exposure through the injection resulting chemical entering directly into the body bloodstream, right? So this is a different type of the chemical hazard, right? So this is all about the today's lecture. I hope you all understood about the today's lecture. Thank you for the watching. Thank you.